Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. How are you doing today, sir? Yeah. So, can you see my screen now? Okay. So, the topic I want us to do today is going to be the bootstrap because the last class we have talked about how you can be able to apply the CSS to all our pages. So, how you can create our own custom work CSS to be able to transform our website to make it look more attractive. So, but now we are going to round it up by just going through the CSS. But it is very important for every developer to be able to know how to write their own custom CSS. Even though you are still using the bootstrap, you might still going to need the use of the custom CSS in some of the bootstrap page. So, but now when we are talking about the particular the bootstrap, a bootstrap is not only the CSS. The bootstrap is all about the complete HTML code. That is a library of HTML code that consists of of is a library of HTML code that consists of HTML with combination of the word CSS and also JavaScript. So this is exactly what the bootstrap is all about. It's not only the CSS you can see in JavaScript, I mean in bootstrap. You can only see what you refer to as CSS too. Please just a minute. Oh, sorry guys, I just need to change the power source. Okay, so now I said this bootstrap is just a combination of HTML, CSS and the JavaScript code. It's not only the CSS code. And bootstrap is just about complete interface they already designed. There's a complete login page they already designed for HTML, and there's a complete the table they already designed for HTML. So all these particular code is already written. So what we just need as a developer is just to be able to pick this particular code and change the content of it to be able to design your own site. So let me go straight to this. So I'm going to create a new folder here inside our folder here, and I'm going to name it a bootstrap here now. So new folder here now and call it bootstrap bootstrap uh, site here now. I call it bootstrap site. That is it. So, and I'm going to open this particular page in my Visual Studio Code environment here now. Okay, right here it is here now. That is it. So it is in this particular page I'm going to be creating any of my bootstrap page if I'm going to create it. Now to make sure we create a page that is that bootstrap support, the first thing we need to do now is to make sure we add the bootstrap code to our page. For example now, I can create a HTML page here without bootstrap. This is how this HTML page will look like when I copy this code here. So, and I'm adding this code to my HTML page here now. I'm adding the code to I'm creating a new HTML file inside the bootstrap folder. Oh, my bootstrider. So I name it index dot HTML. Okay. No, I can't have index.html here. It should be inside this folder here now. So I right click this folder, I say new file, and I name it index. This one go to the folder. Let me confirm, where is the folder now? Okay, this folder is different. Okay, there's already a folder here because boot side here. Okay, no, this folder I want to use. So I'm accessing another new folder. So I'll close this particular project. That is it. I close this folder here. So I can now open the new folder here now. Okay, and that is coming from on here. Okay, and this is the folder I'm going to open now. Okay, that's it now. So the folder opener is a new website folder that I want to create with bootstrap. So I will now create my first HTML file here now. I name it index.html. Okay, so I pasted the code I copied. This is a pure HTML code without any bootstrap. But something changed, especially which is the melter. The meta tag must be added this time around to be able to change the viewport. This one is a tag that makes sure that the HTML page we are going to design is compatible with different type of the device. You get it now? When you see that, why we have what you call a width equal to device width, simply because of it depends on the type of device you use to access your web page. System is going to use the width of that particular device as the width of the page. That is why it's very important. Because if you are using a mobile phone now, you notice that the width of the mobile phone is smaller than the laptop. So when system discover that, when this side discover that you are using the mobile phone to access the website, it will automatically reduce the width of this page. But when you see that it's a iPad again, it will also reduce the width. And when you see it is a laptop, it also reduce the width, so that the site can be can be responsive on all device. That is it. So, and another important information again we need to do now is when we are going to make sure the bootstrap apply to this HTML page, the bootstrap code, which is a library of all the code, must be added to this new site we have just created, because bootstrap too have its CSS and JavaScript and HTML code, and those codes already written. So you know that when we are creating our new page, we are creating the CSS folder by ourselves. We also create a JavaScript folder by ourselves. But this time around now, the CSS and JavaScript and other HTML codes already available in the bootstrap. So there are two ways we can add that particular bootstrap library to our work. There are two ways we can add this particular bootstrap library to our HTML page. The first way is to add it to what you call CDN. We add it through the word CDN. A CDN is when we are accessing the URL of the bootstrap library directly online. Do you get it now? If you want to access it directly online, we can make use of the CDN. CDN allow me to be able to pick the CSS file from the online directory. Or I'm going to do to download the bootstrap file online. If I'm downloading the bootstrap code online, that means I have to put it inside this my folder for this particular site which I'm creating here now, just like the way we did before. But if you do that, there's one disadvantage. If there's a new update on the CSS, it won't be applicable to that to the one you downloaded. And secondly, it will make the site you downloaded to be more heavy, because there are more files you are adding to this particular folder. So that's why most of the people prefer to use the CDN. And to apply the CDN is very simple. The CDN for bootstrap contain the JavaScript and the CSS. The first thing is to copy this line here. This is URL to that particular code there. You copy it and you also add it to your new HTML page we just created there now under the head section. Here I add the first one here. Okay, I'm adding the first one here now. And after that again, so I have to add the one for the JavaScript again. The CSS is going to be inside the head section, but for the CDN for the JavaScript, that will be inside the body section here now. That's going to be added inside the body section. So right here now, I'm copying the next one, which is B for what? For the JavaScript code again. Okay, let me copy from here, and that's it. So copy this one again, and then I can add it to what? To the body section. But when you add it to the body section, make sure you add it to what? To the end of the body section here now. That is it. So the two CSS library files already added now. That is it. So with this one now, our site is now can now be taking advantage of all the already existing CSS code. We can start using it. You get it now. For example now, let me use a button tag here and see the effect of this button now. When I come here, I say button, and the button I have here now, I have this information called get the information. Okay, the info, my insert button is on. Where is it now? Okay, okay, so yeah, I can now have what you call get started. Get started now. Okay, so get started, and the button close tag. Good. So with this one again now, okay, so with this one now, let me save this page and preview it and see the effect of this particular button. This button I'm using here now did not have a bootstrap, even though I added a bootstrap to this particular page. Do you get it now? You can see this button automatically have a default effect here now. Do you get now? So there's a default appearance of this particular button. This button here now, there's a bootstrap effect there. If you want to compare this button to another button, look at the another page again. I'm creating a new page here now. I call it home.html. Okay, in this home.html, I'm copying the same set of code I have here, and I'm pasting it here. Now I'm removing the bootstrap library which I added to this page here, one, and I also remove the one I added to this here now, two. It means that this page is not referencing any of the bootstrap library. Let's see how the button I use here look like here now when I preview the button in the home. Can you see the button in the home? Can you see the button with the bootstrap file? That means even though the moment you have added the bootstrap library to your website, your site started taking the advantage of that particular bootstrap, because there was already a CSS code already written for how each element should appear once you have referenced a bootstrap library here, like the one we have here and for the JavaScript. So with that again, we can now go fully into how we can use the bootstrap. Like I already said before, most of the element you are going to be creating, they already have them in a bootstrap. Let's look at the bootstrap button now to see how you can be able to start advantage of this. If you are creating a button, you don't need to add any code to your button. When I open this particular code now for the bootstrap button, you can see there are different type of button style that are available in the bootstrap. The only thing that you can pick which of these button style you want to use in your HTML page. That is all. You get it now? Is it the one with the primary color? Is it the one with the secondary color? Is it for the success danger? Danger mean that if you want to create something like a confirmation message, maybe somebody want to submit, they can use the button with the green color called success. But if you want to say something like somebody want to say okay, information or delete button. Delete button can be used for for danger. You get now? You can use danger for delete button. Like you are building a shopping cart, you want to show somebody that click on this to delete a button. That is what the danger is, because each of these button they have how you can use it. But we need the ordinary default HTML link button. This is it here, the last one here. you get now, and your button can still have the outline like all what work we have here again. So it depend on which type of button you prefer to use, whether the large button or the small button. Any of the CSS button here can be used or long one. So there are different options for the button we can use here now. You get now, an active button and inactive button. Now let me pick one of the button because we can use all of them. I'm using this particular tool here now. Maybe I want to change my get started to have what we call a green button here now. So I can return back to this button here and I copy the code for it. Return to my HTML page here now. You get it now. I can now change pass this button here. You can see that there is a class they already added to this button. That CSS code is already written. You get now. This cannot be changed, but you can write your own CSS to change this one too. You get now. And I see there are more class attribute for the button too, apart from these two you have here. So what I just need to do now is since I want to use this button for the for get started, I can change the content to get started there. That is it. And once I save the code again, instantly my site my button change now. So I don't need to start cracking my brain to think of which of the HTML, CSS property I'm going to use for this. This is how we started using the bootstrap now. But when you are now creating the main website and you want to start organizing your information again, bootstrap have different type of the component you can use. Number one is a container. Container is a bootstrap that a container is a div that going to be that are going to house all the elements you want to put on your HTML page. Like for example now, if you are creating a new website, for you to be able to design something like this, a container. Do you get it now? It's a div too. Do you get it now? That going to contain all elements. So it is in this container you can specify whether the button you want to use for what? For navigation, the header, the table, the layout, every other div you want to use, everything must be inside this particular container again one by one. That is the rule of this particular of using a CSS for layout. So now, and I'm going to add one of the container to the index page I'm working with now here now, and this is it now. So container can be used in different way. We have a container which has a maximum width for each responsive breakpoint. That is, when you are using the container here as a class for your div, it means that for every different type of the device, system is good to adjust to it. But the container with the fluid, it has 100% for all breakpoint. You know, we can set your width to 100% again. So any of these can be used now. So I'm going to pick this particular first one, which is a container here. That I'm going to be the first one that I'm going to contain all the other elements I'm going to create. So returning back to here again, I can now pass the container div here now. It is inside this particular container here. I'm going to start putting every other element. When you are using your CSS when you are using the bootstrap to design your website. So the first button I have here can return back to inside this particular container now. That is it. You get it now. So that return to this container. So as you already have container, every other layer can now follow inside it. But you not see the border for it now because just like a div that used to hold all other elements together. But another important one here is now that we want to start make use of the grid system, the layout. That's very important. If you are creating a layout for the first page of your site, and I want us to follow some of the layout we already have here before on our previous website again, or we create a new one now. I want us to have something like this layout whereby we have a two column here. You get now. The logo is going to be here, while the title of the site will be here. And the next one is going to be for another container I'm going to be using for another I'm going to for navigation. Navigation is going to be here again. So for me to design the first one here, under the grid system, I'll look for grid system that will allow me to be able to what? To use 2 column. That is it. Because you can have different type of the grid system for 2 column, you get now 3 column or 4 column or 6 column. And that is exactly what you need to do here. So when you are using a div, when you are creating a column for grid system, you have to first define the what? A row. You create a div for row, and again you can now use a div for 2 column. The total number of column you can have is 12. You can pass that particular value for 12 in any way what you like. Do you get now? So what matter here is what? Is the width. All this height, all this div height is auto what? Auto value, simply because the more value you add to the height of this div, the what? The higher is going to what? To be. So I'm copying this one to create the first row of my what? New HTML page here now. So but remember, everything must be inside this particular div4 container now. So as I pasted this one here now, but comment is more important because this is going to be what? The top row. Going to be header. This is going to be header and title. Okay, I see logo and title. That is what we are going to have inside this particular one, the row here now. So, and I want the row to have what? Maybe I want 9, and I want 9. The 9 is going to contain the what? The information about the site. Why this is going to contain the logo? I'm going to add there again now. So, and our logo is our logo. Okay, I have to create another folder here for images, because I want to copy some of the images we are using before, put it here now. So return back to here, and where is some of our images? Okay, here is the logo. We need this, and what else again? Maybe we need this later, and this later. I want to pick some image we might need later now. And okay, the banner picture here we might need it again. Okay, so now I copy these pictures. I'm returning back to this and paste the picture inside there. Okay, good. So the logo now is JPEG. So I can return back here and now insert the what? The image src equal images slash logo now, and okay, that is it. So I can save this page here now, and this one name will alternate equal what? Logo. Okay, so if I preview this particular page, can you see the image is very big? That is it. That's why I told you about what the CSS again, that one you might need. That's why I told you about bootstrap, that might still need to write your own CSS code to reduce this image to your own size, because bootstrap on the image is just to add the effect to the image. It's not to change the size. It is you are going to determine the size you are giving to the image. So because of that, again, I will need to write my own CSS now that can now be reduce this particular image size. So using the bootstrap does not mean you cannot write your own CSS. So I'm creating a new folder here again, and I call it what? CSS now. You can see, and the CSS file is going to score what? Styles. That's the name of the style.what? CSS. Okay, now so I can now add that style.css again to this particular page again by using, this time around now I have to give a comment to let people know that what this one is different from what I call it what? Custom CSS. So that's the one you are written by yourself now, and this CSS now we call it link href equal style slash what? Oh, href equal css, that's the folder name, slash what, styles. Good. And after that again, I say relative equal style sheet. Okay. And also the final one you're going to be on type equal text slash css. Okay, now so we are now adding my css. So since css is going to apply to the image now, I can now define maybe class. I call it dot what, dot logo. This for the logo now. Okay. And I want that logo to be around something like what, let's say the width for this logo now, the width should be what, 985 pixel. While the height, for, okay, the height for this one logo will now be what, 50 pixel. Okay, so let me see. I have to apply the class logo to this one image here now. There will be what, class equal what, equal logo. Okay, I save it now. So when I preview this page, can you see now it has been what, reduced. Maybe we want the width to be more than that again. You turn back here again and increase your width again, maybe to what, 120 or 125. And here is the width now. Maybe height a little bit, come to what, 80 now, or 75 or 70. Okay, let me see, height is 70. I think that is it now. So if this is 70, this one be 140 then. So that means I have 140. Okay, pixel. 140 pixel. Okay. So, and that is it. So this is where the logo I want to use is now. And the next one is the name of the wall, the title for the site. I have to put the site title in the second div column here. That's going to be, maybe I now say what, h1 h1 now, and that's going to be what, Danjuma cow Danjuma cows farm, and I save. So now here I can now refresh the page again. Can you see now? That is it. So it's something like maybe background color for this again. You can try it again here now. If you want to apply the background color to this div again to see how it look like, you get it now. Now I can return back to my div here now and also write this one again. Maybe I say .bg here, and I open this and I close it, and I say background color. Background color now, cadet blue. Okay, that is it, and I save this now. So returning to this page again, the div I want to apply the background color to, is it the background for the title? See, it is a class. I don't need to use class again. I just need to give a space here and say bg. That's all, and I save this page now. You get it now? You can see that shows the background color is for this particular column, not for this particular column. You get now? I can see apply to the second column too now. If I want to apply to it, so I'm going to be what, space what, bg again. But one thing is that what, you won't be able to see the difference between them now. That is it. Since you already applied the background color work to the two. You get now? But if I change the different color, you'll be able to see what this particular one color is. Maybe bg1 or bg2. Please just give me a minute, please, sir. I want to attend to. So now this have shown that I want to create another color here. So I want to create another background here a little bit now, just to see the effect, but I'm not going to use it. I say this is BG1, and I'm using another color here now. Maybe this one is going to be more deeper like this now. Okay, something like this again, more lighter. Okay now. So that is it now. So I'm going to be sure the column 1 have BG1. And here now, when I say BG1 and I save it again, you can see that there are difference between the two.